Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. It could even be good morning. Welcome to another Voice Essentials live hangout. It's always a great pleasure to be with you, and thanks for chiming in. And I look forward to the time that we get to spend together here as a part of the live hangouts, as a community of like-minded people. The one thing I constantly hear, especially over in the Voice Essentials Facebook group, the Voice Essentials community Facebook group, you can look it up if you're not already a part of it, is how supportive this community is to each other. And that's probably the thing I'm most proud of in regards to us as a group. You know, there's this constant support and encouragement. And so really want to commend to all of you. Thank you for being kind to each other. I mean, we live in a harsh world at times, and it's nice to know that we can, move amongst people of like mind and come together and really just be kind. It's a nice thing. And we're going to continue to do that I got it right. Did you see that? Straight to the right direction. Usually if you don't usually chime in on these lives, I usually go that way. I don't know why. It is because my screen is over here, but in fact, be kind in the live chat today. We're going to be dedicating the entire session today to your questions and hopefully providing some of my answers to those questions. I don't have the answers to everything in regards to voice. I continue to learn just like you do, but I just might be a little bit further down the track of learning than some of us, and so I like to provide some answers to your questions. As we get into it, a couple of things. I want to just give a shout out to Linda. I don't thank Linda enough. Linda has collated our questions today, and Linda, you're a gem, and we as a community just want to say thank you to you for moderating not only our live chat and our questions here on the live chat, but also you do a fair bit of moderation over in the Facebook group, and I honestly, you're just fantastic. I think you are amazing, and so thank you for all of the work you do for us as a community. For those of you who don't know Linda is you'll see her come up quite regularly. There she is, Linda Dalton, and she's she's probably the most prolific voice, even more so than mine, sometimes here on Voice Essentials. So it's fantastic to have Linda as a part of our group. Hey, if you missed last week's live show, we had Melissa Cross on. Melissa Cross is arguably one of the world's leading, if not the leading expert on distorted vocals. So those vocals that we would hear typically in, the heavier metals, screamo, thrash, death, those sorts of genres. And can I tell you, it's probably, I think it's probably in its first week of viewing, the biggest view count a live show has ever had here on this channel. I think it's up to something like 1,300 or 1,400 views. For a live show, usually we get anywhere between 500 to 1,000 in the first week, but the reason it's had so many views, in my humble opinion, is because it was a great show. She was a great person to interview, a great guest. And so if you haven't seen that show yet, make sure you jump up. Don't leave today's show just yet. At the end of this show, make sure you check that out, because it was fantastic. And if you did catch it, re-watch it. There is so much just exceptional information in there that I think you're going to really enjoy it. So make sure you go and check that out. Hey, if you haven't already signed up to the Voice Essentials online course, I really encourage you to do it. I had 4 new people sign up over the weekend. This course is a 10-week program that takes you from zero to, well, not hero. That would be a big overstatement. Unfortunately, there are people online that sell their product as if you'd go from zero to hero in 10 easy lessons. that's not the case, but certainly it is a guided program that will encourage your vocal development, step you through 18 exercises. If you haven't already signed up, I encourage you to do that, and then engage in the Facebook community, because you can upload your songs to that and get feedback, and it's a really interactive course. So many people here on the channel have already started participating in that. Nearly 300, I think, we've had sign up already. So look, if you're thinking that you'd like to, join up to a course that's going to really benefit your voice, and it's based in solid research, just not, some fly-by-the-night sort of ideas, then I really encourage you to jump over to voiceessentials.com.au and start engaging. Today's session, as I said, we are going to dedicate the whole thing to your questions. Now, we've got a whole range of questions to start off with and get going with, so we're going to do that. But can I encourage you, in the live chat, make sure, I did it again, I'm getting better, make sure you leave your questions in the live chat. Linda will grab them, she's collating them, putting them into a Word document for me, and I will do my best to answer it, but rest assured, if I can't answer it with confidence, I will tell you. I've certainly got no narcissistic pretense about my capacities, so let's jump in, and I think it would be a bit of fun just to kick off the Q&A with this. I was trying to find the right button to press, and then I couldn't find it. I'm going, ah! As you know, besides Linda helping me out with the Word document, I'm pressing all the buttons here. So sometimes we have to be patient with Dr. Dan, because Dr. Dan can be a little bit slow on the technology at times. Okay, so let's jump in here to some questions. If I get chance, I will retrospectively look at some of the questions from previous shows where you've left questions, but I am going to kick off just with the questions that have been asked from the get-go today. Oh no, am I? Where am I? I'm way down here. So many people in the live chat today. It's so good to see so many of you. And it is this side this time. I am getting good at this. Okay. You'd think after, what are we up to? A couple of hundred live, over 100 live shows. You'd think I'd be getting better. You'd think, but I'm a slow learner. Okay, Bibble Bronx asks, if I do not sing for a week and a half, will I lose my singing progress? Hey, great question, Bibble. I'm not familiar with your name, so welcome to Voice Essentials. If this is one of the first times you've hung out with us. No, you won't, and people do get concerned about their vocal progress and those sorts of things, and not wanting to lose their progress. To my knowledge, the latest research suggests that we do want to be really regular in our voice use. And certainly for beginner singers, I always advocate for every second day, consistently every second day. We do a little bit more for those people who are perhaps doing university level, tertiary education around their voice, or people who are regularly gigging or are about to go on tour. But I think for beginner singers, we can generally expect that doing around about every second day is a really good place to start. And you start for about 20 minutes and you slowly but surely increase that time length by about 5 minutes every week or 2 weeks until you can do every second day for around about 45 minutes to an hour. And that's going to be different for every voice, and you do have to ascertain for yourself what your vocal stamina, what your voice will do. And some people can do a little bit more, some people have to do a little bit less. It really comes down to you and your individual morphology and vocal apparatus and all those sorts of things. But then, so to the question, Bibble, the research shows that if you leave your vocal practice for longer than 4 days, so 4 days between really significant voice use, we can expect to see starting to drop off in vocal fitness. And the research also suggests that by the end of 40 days of non-use, so non-intentional activity from the voice user. So obviously, I think in this particular instance, the voice is still being used for speech, but we're talking about singing and intentional loading the voice with singing practice and performance. Anything after 40 days, the voice has lost all of that muscular tone. So, and this is why I say to students, for example, over extended holiday breaks and whatever, to try and get at least 1 or 2 practices done a week so that it doesn't completely drop off. You want to really try to keep the voice buoyant by getting that regular use. And again, anything longer than 4 days of non-activity, then you'd expect to see the voice drop off. So hopefully that answers your question. You won't lose your singing progress per se, but you can stand to lose your vocal fitness, and in doing so your stamina and those sorts of things. I notice when I go on a summer break here in Australia, which is generally for me usually 4 weeks over late December into early January, I do try to step away from the singing thing for a little while. And when I do, when I come back to teach, because obviously when I teach 5 days a week, my voice is getting a lot of use when I teach. So I always notice it usually takes me a good 1 to 2 weeks for my vocal stamina to return and for me to really be able to reactivate that. And so certainly I notice it personally in my own voice. So hopefully, Bibble, that answers your question. Jamie A., who is a regular, good to see you, Jamie. What is the best way to choose a song for the online course? Oh, okay, I am having difficulty choosing songs to do. I am a tenor baritone. Jamie, as you'll recall in the course, I've actually created, and this is in module, I think it's in module 1. If it's not, it's very early in module 2. I'm pretty sure it's at the beginning, at the end of module 1, I've made a selection of suggested songs for you that you can go and have a look at. Now, they're very universal, and in the sense that I've got one that's directed at beginner, one directed at intermediate, and one directed at advanced from memory. It's been a little while since I put that together. Jamie, so you'd have to go and have a look. Look, if they're not songs that you feel particularly that you want to sing, no problem with that. It's a matter of you choosing a song that you feel you can resonate with. A pop song, country song, rock song, something that's on the local charts, to you, is completely fine. There are so many karaoke tracks online now, even on YouTube, that you can sing along to for free that won't cost you anything. And the difficulty around choosing songs is often where it sits as far as how high it is. Given that you are tenor/baritone, so either a low tenor or a high baritone, I would think you're saying, you want to go looking for songs that would probably create it's a little easier for you to find songs, I dare say, than some of our bass singers and whatever. A little bit harder to find material to sing for the lower voice types for males, but you shouldn't have too much trouble. But yeah, if you're struggling, go looking back in module 1. There is a listing there of suggested songs. A song that I start nearly all of my male singers on here in the studio for private lessons is Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. It's a very straightforward song. You can really work technique into the piece, and you're not going to find it too much of a challenge, I wouldn't think. Okay, Alexa Emerald McBride. Hello. I have been suffering from silent reflux and I can't sing most of the time. My question is, can I sing a normal song along with reflux, or is it safe to just do vocalizations while fixing reflux? The reflux, so firstly, we've got to understand what reflux is. Reflux, for what we refer, there are two types of reflux. There's GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disorder, GERD. And then there's LPR, laryngeal pharyngeal reflux. The big challenging one for singers typically is LPR, laryngeal pharyngeal reflux. It's often referred to as silent reflux or singer's reflux. The reason we refer to it as singer's reflux is because the silent effects of it are generally picked up by singers. They're silent because they don't, LPR often doesn't give the same symptoms as GERD, which, you know, indigestion and heartburn. More often than not, LPR is experienced, the symptoms of it are experienced by the singer, or by anyone, when you first wake up, and the voice feels really laboured and very hoarse, and sometimes can actually have some discomfort associated with it, maybe a sense of swelling at the back of the throat. And so that leads us to acknowledging that, I dare say, oh, you did say silent reflux. I need to pay more attention, Alexa. So suffering from silent reflux, in this case, we need to then think about, okay, well, what is the impact of silent reflux or singer's reflux on the voice? Well, of course, it is swelling. It's swelling that is happening in response to this acid that your arytenoids and perhaps the vocal process is sort of soaking in overnight, often while you're asleep. And so that swelling then causes the voice to feel really laboured. It may reduce range. I actually had to cancel a gig, this is a couple of years back, because my silent reflux just got out of hand. And so the way I helped firstly, I did all the things that my doctor had already encouraged me and equipped me to do. I took medication. I won't say what the medication was, simply because my job is not to diagnose, nor is it to prescribe medication. That is the job of your doctor and otolaryngologist, your ENT. That's their place. I'll tell you what I did, and it's really important that I specify that and own and ground what I'm about to say, because this is not a channel that gives out medical advice. That is the job of your doctor. I'm Dr. Dan, but I'm a singing doctor, as in I have a doctorate of musical arts, not a doctor of medicine. So that all being said, because sometimes people at me for settle, Daniel. Right. So with my silent reflux, I treat it medically with a medicine, and I do treat it with some Gaviscon, which you can get it over the counter, and that helps to just tame that down. And then I'll usually I use semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, lip bubbles, straw phonation. And the reason I'm using those exercises, those activities, is because it's helping to bring the vocal folds together in a manner that really helps to massage the retained fluid that the vocal folds have accumulated as a protective response to the acidity and the burning sensation of the acid. And so by doing that, I'm just helping to repair and massage the voice, and that's typically what I would do to bring the voice back to a happier balance. And so determining your second part of your question is singing a normal song along with reflux. It really depends on the severity of the reflux, Alexa, and I would be encouraging you maybe to, you just do testers. Do some warm-up. How does the voice feel during the warm-up? And then once you start to feel the voice behaving and starting to be a little bit more usable post the impact of the reflux, then you can go on and start getting back into your regular voicing. but you do have to get the reflux under control. You don't just do it. I should really highlight, we don't just do it with medicine. We actually want you to be able to control it with a change in your diet, perhaps raising the level of your, the incline of your bed so that you are feeding those acids back down into your stomach. Again, talk to your doctor if you don't have these things under control. Your medical doctor is the first place you should start in this regard. Okay, Weenie Butt, which is a name I'm not familiar with. Welcome to Voice Essentials, Weenie Butt. Can you please post more breathing exercises? Well, Weenie, I've got, there's quite a few breathing activities on the channel and available in my Voice Essentials exercise collections, quite a number. So there may well be some to come. I've got plans to do Voice Essentials 3 in the next couple of months that I'll be going into pre-production next month. In fact, next month, dear me, that's only days away. So I will be doing that, but certainly, Weenie Butt, you want to go really deep dive into my Voice Essentials exercise collections. There's quite a number of breath activities in that. Corey, how long does it take, Corey Jackson this is, how long does it take to get an average singer to Harry Styles' Demi Lovato type level? How long's a piece of string, Corey? That's actually an impossible question to answer. You know, here at the channel, here at Voice Essentials, it's branded. This is where everybody sings. Voice Essentials is where everybody sings. It is the birthright of every human being to sing. But what I never then, I don't want to be disingenuous in that statement. Let me further clarify that statement to say that doesn't mean the potential of everyone would be to become a Demi Lovato or a Harry Styles. And look, here, case in point, those people's personalities and beings are already taken. We want you to be the best you can be, but everyone's potential is different in this regard. And so you might be mistaken by then going, well, then that doesn't mean everyone can sing. No, everyone can sing. And everyone who wants to express themselves with a singing voice should feel free to do so, and feel free to develop their voice and realize the full potential of their individual voice. But that doesn't mean that we're all destined to become Demi Lovato or Harry Styles. Harry Styles is an interesting choice. See, it comes down to, you know, it's all relative as well, isn't it? You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and as is beauty is in the ear of the beholder. And I have a whole video that I just recently did about this subject, which you might want to go and check out. So one of the more recent ones, Corey, where we talk about, you know, this in a little bit more depth. So go and check that out on the channel. I will give you one question, Matt, because Matt, one of our regulars, asks a question every week. Can a bass train themselves to get lower before their biology? Usually would, and the same with tenors sing higher. Your voice gets lower as you age. Can you accelerate that process? Well, you can accelerate that process by doing some really silly things to your voice, Matt. Look, I guess this may come across as semantics, but it's not supposed to be heard that way. There are very few people that walk into my studio. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I don't think I've ever met anyone, and I've taught, this is my 23rd year of teaching, something like that. And so I've had a couple of thousand people through my studio door in that time. I don't think in that time, of those thousands of people I've taught, I don't think I've met one person who has fully realized the anatomical boundaries of their voice. And this is where we get a little bit This is one of the tricks of the online trade, if you will. You know, you'll get a presenter who will say, you know, with my methodology, I'm going to add, you know, in the first lesson, I'm going to add an octave to your range. No one can add an octave to your range. Just like saying, that's like I don't know, a doctor saying, you know, after one session with me, I'll add 1 foot to your height. It's not possible. What a good singing teacher can do is help to unlock your voice and give you some skills and some tools to fully explore your anatomical range. That's what good technique will do. It doesn't add anything. It simply gives you access to notes that anatomically already exist for you. And certainly in the Voice Essentials online course, we go about actively doing that and encouraging you to fully explore your range. So there's no adding of notes to your voice. I know that sounds like it's just a semantics thing, but it's a pretty important thing to qualify. And unfortunately, some people online hide behind that semantics and kind of create a sales pitch with that. And it is a little bit, is it disingenuous? It's sales spin is what it is. Targonian Lumbra, I'll have said that wrong and I apologise for that, asks, hello, have you watched Eurovision? I have watched Eurovision in all of its wonderful quirkiness, and one of my little claims to fame is, so in the last couple of years, Australia has been sending people over to compete. Last couple of weekends ago, we had a lady by the name of Kate Miller-Heidke represent Australia in Eurovision. I used to sing with Kate. We used to do duets together, and I know Kate, and she is the real deal, everyone. For those of you who happen to hear her sing at Eurovision this year, she is a real, genuine talent. Now, another interesting little fact, for those of you who have ever watched Eurovision or follow Eurovision, a couple of years back, we had another lady by the name of Dami Im, who also has some connections to me, not directly to me. She used to have lessons in this room, not with me. This is back at a time when I had other teachers teaching for me. She was being taught by one of my other teachers, but Dami Im, also who represented Australia, also had lessons here. She too is an amazingly gifted talent. So some connections from my studio to Eurovision. So hopefully that answers your question. Cockney Rebel, good to hear from you. How are we going for time? We're doing all right. Please, can you suggest some cute romantic couple duets for me to sing with my girl when she comes over and stays with me in a few weeks? We want to record for both our channels. Cockney, there's a number of great duets that you could check out. Duets like, you could go and look up that, remember there was a great duet by Gwyneth Paltrow and I can't remember the male vocal. Cruisin', I think was the name of the song. That's a fun tune to sing. Not too difficult. Of course, there's the more recent one, Shallow, from the more recent movie. What's it called? I've gone blank. Maybe someone in the chat section can remind us of what that movie's called. I've gone blank. So, yeah, but look, Cockney, you can just jump in, type in romantic duets into Google. I'm sure things will come up, and that will help you. Martin Sebastian and Onzo Ruiz. Ruse? Is that how I'd say your last name, Martin? I'm a tenor, but I'm 15. So when I grow up, my voice will change, but can I stop being a tenor? Well, Martin, at 15, I would suspect you are starting to already experience what's referred to as your emerging adult voice. At the age of 15, I would expect your voice to be starting to sort of come on the other side of puberty. That being said, some people go through puberty later than others. Will you stop being a tenor? Until your voice fully settles, there's no kind of real way of ascertaining what your voice classification is. And at your age, can I encourage you not to get too hung up in that? Just continue to love your singing. Don't try to sing outside of the voice, in the sense of don't try to overdo things. Your voice is still very much like a butterfly emerging from the cocoon, and so it is still very supple. It's still very fragile in many respects, and we want that voice to strengthen in a really healthy, sustainable way. And so usually by the late teens, I'm encouraging students to really start to accelerate their learning or whatever around their voice. Ignacio Veloso Bahamons. You all know I give it a shot, right? If I don't get the pronunciations right, accept my apologies as a standing position, because I just know I don't get these right all the time. Hey, can you talk a little about differentiating between vocal fatigue and vocal injury? Oh, I love this question. Sometime after singing, I feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it hurts, but most of the time it's just discomfort. Hey, let me just grab some water, because I am experiencing some vocal fatigue right now. Fantastic question. I actually have a video on this very subject where we talk about the need to differentiate between fatigue and wear and tear. All muscles fatigue with use. It's just a part of the process. If I was to go for a jog, hey, I'll let you in on a little secret. Come here. I joined a gym today. I know. Stop traffic. I did it. As you know, I play a community sport every week. Touch football. It's a game that's very well known here in Australia. I love it, but the reality is I'm not getting enough exercise, and so I joined a gym. I know. If I had an effects panel, I would have hit the applause button. And credit goes to my daughter also. She's joined with me. And I've got this crazy notion. I don't know whether this is going to happen or not. We are going to attempt to join my friend, who is sort of a big motivating factor, who really encouraged me. I had breakfast with him on the weekend. He said, Daniel, come and join me at the gym 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at 5 a.m. Now, I am your classic muso. I am a night lark, not an early bird. And so I don't know how I'm going to go. I'm going to give it a shot. I would appreciate any and all you leaving your encouragement, at the very least your encouragement, in the live chat section, because I don't know how I'm going to go. Hopefully my daughter and I, Caitlin and I, will be able to keep each other accountable, at least get each other out of bed. And how did I'm lost now. I have no idea how I got onto that. Vocal fatigue. Yeah, so if I was to run around that's how I got onto it. When I go to the gym, for the first number of weeks, I just know I'm going to be smashed. The fatigue is going to be very high. And I will actually have to be very careful that I don't overdo it, that dare I say, I don't know how I'm going to have enthusiasm at 5 a.m. in the morning, but nonetheless, with my enthusiasm as it is currently, which will, I'm certain, wane as time goes on, I'm going to be very careful that I don't take it beyond fatigue into wear and tear, because it's as you sort of move past that fatigue point, and that very natural fatigue point of use, that muscles can start to really quite challenged. And it's the same with your voice. Fatigue is a very natural part of your vocal use, and your fatigue point can improve as your vocal stamina improves. But you do have to learn the difference between vocal fatigue and vocal wear and tear. And you kind of move through phases, so you can kind of go from voice use into fatigue, into wear and tear, into then damage. And it's learning to know what are your symptoms, what does your voice feel like, and they do feel, for most people I've found, they do feel subtly different. So for example, right now my voice is feeling a bit fatigued. As you know, I've been sick. I'm still, this is part of the reason I did sort of commit to going to the gym, because I really think that had my general fitness been a little bit better, I may not have been hit so hard with the flu I've recently had, which in turn wouldn't have impacted my voice, which I need to work. So I'm still carrying a bit of fatigue right now as I'm talking to you, and I can hear it in my fundamental pitch. My vocal folds are carrying a bit of swelling, that in the response of trying to cushion them against the use. And if I was to really overdrive the voice today, let's say I continue to talk for another 2 hours, or even another hour, then I'm going to be I'll probably be in that space of wear and tear and exposing the voice to some damage. We're not going to do that, and so it's safe enough to do what I'm doing. So that's the difference. It's learning to sort of know and pick the differences is really important. I hope that answers your question, Ignacio. Paul Cuz, hello sir, why can't I sing into a head voice? Well, that's a registration issue, Paul. There can be a number of different reasons that singers struggle to access a register transition or register shift. And I do have some exercises in a number of different videos on this subject. You might like to go looking. There are 2 videos in particular you might want to go and check out. The first one you would want to go and check out is about head voice. Just type in head voice Dr. Dan into YouTube. And the other one on the channel you could look in is falsetto. Now falsetto, certainly the way I classify voice, etc., in accordance with the what's it called, the Thurman and Welch registration model, falsetto is different to head voice, and so you would need to learn the differentiation between that. But looking at falsetto can be a helpful activity to then bring that that upper register, bring it back down. And also I did one very recent video, in fact one of the more, probably in the last, if you jump onto the channel homepage, one of the most recent videos is on this very, not on this subject, but I talk about mimicking like a puppy. You can hear my vocal fatigue there. And that's more from a vocal constriction point of view, but certainly you will find it helpful to help access that upper register sound. Corey's got another question here. Is mixed voice created, or do we already have one? Everyone has a mixed voice. It's just some people. Mixed voice is simply the way you manage the movement between registers and the way you balance what is now referred to often as mode 1, mode 2, and how you sort of transition between those modes. So there's no mixed voice per se. It's not a standalone register. It's the way you balance the registration that gives you that mixed voice sound. Ian, well, incidentally, we're going to finish up after the next couple of questions, because my voice is, if I keep pushing the voice, I will take it into that phase of wear and tear, and we don't want me to do that. I don't want me to do that. Ian Prazak, for a male tenor, I'm breaking just over C5. I'm breaking just over C5. That's an interesting turn of phrase. It feels like I'm hitting a wall. I have like 2 notes, but F5 is impossible. Well, F5 is high, Ian. Which of your CD exercises do you recommend for range work up this high? Exercise exercise 19, which is actually the first track on Voice Essentials 2, is a transitional, siren activity. So that would be helpful. Exercise 15, the 9-note scale on Voice Essentials 1. If you were to do it as a lip bubble or a tongue trill, would be helpful. The great thing about semi-occluded activities like lip bubbles, tongue trills, straw phonation, is it does create a balanced phonation that does typically give you better access to register transitions than if you were just simply doing an open vowel, which is the acoustic aspects of open vowel is different to different to straw phonation, which gets us more in connection with flow phonation. So I hope that is helpful. Ian, can I just say to you, I mean, it's terrific that you're breaking it's terrific that you're accessing notes like C5 and F5, and I too access those notes. But Ian, can I tell you, and can I say to everyone else, whilst that's a cool thing to do, there are very few songs that require you to do that on an overly regular basis. They do exist, of course they exist, and there are songs that you know are accessing really very exciting ranges to listen to. But again, Ian, and I've said this many times on the channel, don't get captivated by range extension. Really make sure you're working on your voice as a whole, and I'm sure you're doing that. So yeah, just be conscious of that. Ishay Vlog, I dare say Ishay is a vlogging channel or something. Hi Dr. Dan, so I'm curious, what do you do if your voice is damaged? Before I could sing lots of high notes, but now it just cracks a lot. I actually have a video. I get to say this a lot because there's over 450 videos on my channel, and there's a lot of videos dedicated to vocal health because I am a singing voice specialist, and I do work in the rehabilitation alongside ear, nose and throat doctors and speech pathologists. I, as the singing teacher, play my role as a singing voice specialist in caring for the damaged voice. Or as I like to say it, voices that have fallen into disrepair. There is quite a recent video. I think I referred to it as, I titled it, I have a damaged voice, will my damaged voice ever recover? It's titled something like that. Your damaged voice, more often than not, can be helped to repair. I say more often than not because there are, sadly, still vocal issues that cannot be repaired or can only be partly repaired, and we are getting, when I say we, the voice science community, the voice allied health community are getting better at helping to remediate damaged voice, but there are still areas that we need better techniques on. So it really comes down to what has caused the damage, what is the underlying concerns. So if it's hemorrhage, if it's nodules, if it's cysts, these sorts of things can be dealt with quite well. If it's a sulcus, it depends on where the sulcus is. If it's a paralysis of the vocal fold, these sorts of things are a little bit trickier to deal with, and again, it has to be so specific to every single person. Ishay, so if you haven't already done so, I really encourage you to see an ear, nose and throat doctor for a full vocal assessment, after which you would expect to be directed to a speech and language pathologist, and hopefully then in turn you may well end up in a studio like mine, a singing voice specialist, where we work as a full team to bring your voice back to health. I'm going to give the last question today to Lithium Sapphire, who asks, why do we have bridges? Why don't we have a smooth transition between head voice and chest voice? and a jump between them. It's an acoustic, it's a mechanical issue and an acoustical issue. And it's actually the combining of those two. So the musculature that dominates your lower register compared to the musculature that dominates your upper register is firstly different. And so they have to work in an agonistic-antagonistic relationship. So in a bit of a tug-of-war, not dissimilar to your bicep and your tricep. So they're working, where am I? Maybe after my maybe after my gym work I'll actually have a bicep that you can see. So we're working in a similar relationship within the larynx. But then what happens in the resonant mix as the voice then is transformed from a really rudimentary buzz at the level of the vocal folds and is acoustically transformed through the vocal tract, that acoustic is then changed. And so there are acoustic influences, and this is why your transition can be different dependent on what vowel you are singing. There's a number of different things that will determine how that works. So that is why we have you've used the word bridge. Transition is the typical word that I use. Passaggio, these are all interchangeable terms, but it is the word transition that I tend to use. What a great hangout. I've loved your questions. Linda is going to be a gem and save your questions for the next time we do a live hangout and do a Q&A. Next week, I've done a pre-record with a guy who has been kind enough to join us and talk about the idea. Many times I get questions here on the channel where people ask me, Dr. Dan, how do I better record? What do I need to do better recordings so that I can upload better recordings to Facebook, community group, or onto YouTube? The gentleman that's joining us next week has a YouTube channel dedicated to this subject, and he is joining me, and we've done it as a pre-record, so jump in next week, and we are, as a part of the live show, I'm going to show you that pre-record video. I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout. As always, hit the thumbs up button. Hey, don't forget to check out last week's live hangout with Melissa Cross, which was just off the charts amazing. And as always, if you're watching this as a replay, leave your questions in the comments section below so that we can engage as well. As always, I love to hang out with you guys. I'll see you next week, same time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Mondays. That's when we do the show. Hit the white bell. There's a lot of instruction here, isn't there? Hit the white bell icon so that you're notified and you know when we go live. Until I see you next time, I'm Dr. Dan. Sing.